Okay, so I have to remake this now, but I just made a video, a recording, on something that I feel is important to discuss, but I think is important for a lot of people to know and build for themselves, I would say. So let me take these off. Mainly, I'm gonna very much summarize what I said, but I know I haven't posted in a minute, and that's mostly because thanks to recent events and situations, haven't really been in the mental or emotional state where I've caught a break necessarily, where I feel like I can speak and I can really put forth anything of value to you because, again, of my current situation. And I don't really feel like I've had much of that breather even now, today. But something did come to me that I think is important that I share. Something that I learned from my situation. And I won't elaborate on what it is that I'm going through because I need to process it first before I can really say and put, because I don't want to just say my business without having anything of value really behind it. Because if I don't learn from it, how are you gonna learn from it? You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is the kind of lesson that came into my head today was, I'll give you the same analogy that I gave, no, is it analogy? Analogy that I gave in what I said earlier. If, let's say there's a situation, right, where, how do I put it? There is a situation that involves, that involves another person, it involves another entity, if it's a job, if it's a person, if it's multiple people, whatever it is, right? And that situation is causing all this unnecessary drama and unnecessary chaos that's just putting you through emotional and like mental turmoil. You can do your best to try and course correct the situation from coming to a certain outcome, and you could try and do what you can on your part to course correct it away from that outcome to a different outcome. But if the other entities or whatever aren't upholding on their end of what they need to do, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to do that all by yourself. Because one, it takes two, or it takes however many the situation calls for to really move it in an alternate direction from where it's already heading. And doing that all by yourself isn't going to work. And man, I really feel that trying to gather my thoughts and remember what I said. What I had said was that you can try as many times as you want. You can keep trying, you can keep giving, you can keep just doing what you can to make that course correction. But if the other entity or entities aren't doing their part, it's going to come to an inevitable outcome. So with that being said, you need to get to a certain point within yourself of knowing when to relinquish and just let it go. Like, I'm not telling you to give up. I'm telling you that the cost of the mental and emotional turmoil and chaos that you are putting yourself through, basically on your own, if it's on your own, this only applies if it's on your own, then for that course correction, it is not worth it if the other ends aren't upheld. It's never worth it, because you're under all this stress, under all this pressure, trying to make things work, trying to make it work. And how is it going to work if the other part isn't being upheld? It's not. So that's when it comes into you doing your part and you doing what you have to do for the betterment of yourself. And in a lot of cases, that means removing yourself from the situation that's causing all this chaos, that's causing you all this turmoil. And I 100% believe that that's 1,000 times better than staying in a situation trying to make it work, but you're the only one trying to make it work. You can't talk a brick wall into moving. You can't. So you're not going to get anywhere. So at some point you need to course correct yourself on a different path of your own goals and your own outcomes. And I think what that means for a lot of people my age is the path of self-sufficiency and independence. I don't think, and in a lot of cases, that is something that I have seen a lot of people kind of put a lot of action towards, but what I wish I saw more of, not what I wish I saw more of, but what I think people my age who are in a certain situation of sacrificing their peace in a situation of chaos is not something, it's not worth it. Your peace is everything. Your peace of mind, your emotional well-being is so much more important than trying to make something work that just will not work. You see, at some point you need to know when to put the axe down. And when you're in the process of trying to make something work, I think it's very important to, when you're in a very heated moment or in a situation where you're getting triggered emotionally and feel this anger and frustration and this sadness that you just want to let it all out on the person and just basically lay all your cards out on the table. I think that is one of the biggest mistakes anyone can make in a situation where they're trying to achieve a certain outcome, because your emotional composure is your leverage in any situation. And I say leverage to mean that's your high ground. That's not to say that you're better than the person. That's not to say that you're better than anything. No. Even though it puts you in a better light, it's your leverage to the point of being the sound person, of kind of leading the outcome to go your way. If you are not emotionally composed and you're just angry, saying whatever you feel, saying whatever comes to your mind, saying all these things, and you're not being logical in the sense of your goal, then that goal will never come to pass. Because unfortunately and fortunately, logic does take precedent in a lot of situations, especially in course correction, and especially towards outcomes. And at some point, no. if you're trying to make something work, the best and fastest way to make something work and to correct an issue, instead of attacking each other, be sound, be emotionally composed, go feel whatever you need to feel on your own. Remove yourself from the situation. Especially if it's heated and in person, walk away from the situation. Go to your car, go to your room, go to a park on a bench, go anywhere else, go cry about it, go feel about it, go cuss out, go do whatever you need to do to let off some steam and emotionally process whatever you're going through. Then ask yourself, talk to yourself, what do I want? What's the outcome I want from this? What does it take to get there? What do I need to do on my part? Am I willing to do that? Can I do that? Yes, I will do that. No, I will not do that. Take your steps from there. Make a plan with yourself, talk to yourself, and after you emotionally process, now logically process. Because, and I'm talking about a lot of human relationships. That could be with your partner, with your parents, with your whoever. Or especially with your friends. God, drama within friends is just insane. But that is the best and quickest way for yourself on your end to get to that point of composure. Unfortunately, the fastest way to solve an issue at hand within any kind of situation is if both sides are doing that. And if it's only one side and the other side isn't even trying, it's not going to get to that other point. It's just not. It's very simply put. So I say this to put it into better words. If it's at a certain point where you cannot, where no matter how hard you try and you do to the best of your ability on your end, at some point you need to know when to stop and remove yourself from the situation and work on your other goals. No situation, no person, no being, no entity should ever, ever, ever get in the way of your goals for yourself, for your future. Absolutely nothing. Except if you're a parent, then your children take absolute and ultimate priority over anything. Your responsibility for your children and over them is your absolute priority, no matter what. And people can simultaneously work on their goals bit by bit while taking care of their children. And I think I've seen too many times where people use their children or use their responsibilities as an excuse why they can never reach their goals, when really an excuse is an excuse. What from that was stopping you from spending, I don't know, maybe not an hour, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 5 towards working on that goal? Like, obviously I'm not a parent to speak much on this, but speaking from the experience of my own life, of where I've been in certain situations, if you wanted to get to a certain goal and you wanted it bad enough, you would make time. You would make time. That goes for anyone. That goes for people my age. That goes for people older than me. That goes for anyone. If you want it bad enough, you make the time for it. End of. And especially if you want something to work. Unfortunately, in a lot of situations, hard conversations need to take place, but they need to be taken place with a respectful attitude and energy, a compassionate energy, an empathetic energy, and a just peaceful environment. on both ends. Otherwise, I hate to break it to you, it's not going to go where you want it to. So I think for someone my age, if you're in a situation where the price of peace might outweigh, if basically, I'm trying to put it into a more quotey kind of words, but basically, if you're my age and in a situation where the cost of your peace is far higher than, sorry, this is not staying, but basically the cost of your peace is where basically the services that someone is providing for you, food, shelter, water, clothing, whatever, is costing you your peace, but the actual cost of peace itself and peace in your life is a little bit higher than the peace that you're already giving. Just go for the higher price of having, I know that doesn't make much sense, it makes so much sense in my head, but basically if we're talking about this in the transaction sense of you, if you're talking about this in the sense of a transaction, right? You're getting all of these things. You're getting food, shelter, water, clothes on your back, right? But in order to receive that, you're giving your peace away. If you're handing your peace away for the cost of this, but to get your peace back is a very far higher cost in the sense that it's going to cost you the experience of chaos for a piece of time, do what you have to do to pay for that peace. And when I say that, pay for your peace in terms of that peace being your independence, your self-sufficiency, your ability to, not saying be out on your own, I'm not saying that, I am saying be in a better situation that does not cost you your peace. Because your peace of mind, your emotional stability, and your energetic environment, your boundaries, and again, your self-respect those are your best friends. And your emotional composure in any situation is your best friend. So, and I do strongly believe that as a younger generation, we've been very much criticized for our disposable nature of being willing and able to cut off people and remove ourselves from environments that no longer serve us. And I think that has been seen as selfish by a lot of our predecessing generation. However, I don't see it as selfish. It's possible, it might be selfish, but I see it as self-love. Being able to remove yourself from a situation that doesn't serve you anymore and is causing you more harm than good, that is self-love. That is loving yourself, and I've talked about this before. Self-love is self-discipline, and unfortunately there is a lot of self-discipline that goes into cutting someone off. It's not easy. It's not just like, oh, I'm done with you. I've said this before. It's a process, and it's a process that takes time, and it takes healing, and it's painful. So with that, I say that kind of going around about moment into what I said earlier of, what did I say? I said something about, see, this is why when I talk, like the words that leave my mouth are gone, like they're not coming back. But it's a situation of course correction. At some point there's a cutoff, and there's a cutoff for the benefit of your peace. And that is always worth it, to me, at least. That is something I value. And I think that's something everyone should value, is peace. And through peace takes on the path to peace takes some emotional self-discipline. And when I say emotional self-discipline, I mean emotional composure, in the sense of you're self-disciplined enough to not let yourself unleash in a time where it's gonna do more harm than good. Rather, you let yourself communicate in a logical, respectful, sound way, with the tone of your voice and what you're communicating and how you're communicating. And I feel that is something that everyone should have, especially if they're trying to course correct away from a certain outcome to a better one. And I also feel it's something that is very good for people to have for themselves, whether it's in a very heated situation or not. Heated or not, it's emotional self-discipline is very important to learn. It is very important to grasp and to maintain, because that is what's going to stop you from spiraling when you're trying to get to a certain point. Because spiraling does you no good. It does not. Spiraling with your thoughts, spiraling with your emotions, it puts you in a worse place, and it digs your hole deeper. Like if you're digging a hole for yourself, you're digging it deeper by being unregulated. So all these synonyms are just flying through the air. But yes, that is what I have to say in terms of emotional self-discipline and course correction. The only way to course correct, not the only way to course correct, but one of the biggest aspects of course correction is through emotional regulation, which comes from the foundation of emotional self-discipline. And when there are situations in your life that come to you to where it's causing a lot of chaos, it is better to remove yourself, process, come back to yourself logically and sound, and then try and go towards the issue again. And if you continue to try again, and the entities that are also held to a certain point of responsibility and accountability over the outcome of that course correction aren't upholding to their end, then you need to make the hard decision and leave your situation, do what you have to do for your peace and betterment of your future. And it's, yeah. And I think your goals are, know what your goals are in your life. Think about it deeply. Try things, explore. Just so you know what you want. and then you can figure out how to get there. So that's what I have to say about that. As for my situation, this is kind of the first lesson that's come to my mind. Again, I haven't caught much of a break to be able to dissect, to really give anything of value to you from my situation, and I think there will be a lot more that I can give. I hope there will be. And yeah, and then once I cross a certain threshold, I'll be willing to share a little bit more and kind of give you the value that I obtained from my own experiences, and hopefully you can learn from it, and you can learn from this, because I think it's very, very important. And yeah, so as always, take from this what you will. And yeah, love you.